Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica, and this is Improv on Talk About It Tuesday. And today we have an amazing guest, a playwright, Catie. Hi, Catie.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm really happy you came on. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it was so easy. I just had to turn on my laptop. So
yeah, it's not like you have to, put on pants or walk over to your car or turn on the ignition.
And if I didn't know I had to wear pants, I definitely wouldn't have.
You
should let people know that next time. Yeah.
So, Catie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, besides wearing pants, I am also a playwright, which Angelica said. I've for over 20 years, and I have an undergraduate degree in playwriting and a master's degree in playwriting as well, because I liked it so much. I got that over in England, and so I kind of got my playwriting start in London. I've been published a couple times and had many things on stage. I started my own theater company about 8 years ago. And so I've been doing a lot of productions through that, and then hosting other people's productions. And yeah, just living the dream as a playwright.
And how did you get started? Where did it all begin?
So honestly, I was one of those theater kids in high school that did the musical and the fall plays and was in choir and the triple threat kind of thing. And I should let you know I'm an only child as well, so there was a lot of improv going on at home in my room alone, when your mind gets going, and and I would just come up with these stories, and they were characters that I thought were kind of interesting to play. There were people that I thought, well, I would want to play this character on stage. So I just started kind of writing them down. And the first play I ever wrote was a musical, but I didn't know how to write music, so I just would put little inserts that was insert song here, but never got around to inserting song. And the play was probably pretty horrible anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I found I'm dyslexic as well, so I found a way to kind of have my voice make sense in a way to me. A play doesn't necessarily have to be linear. It could kind of be all over the place, and I could write in a way that that people spoke and not have to be so formal and follow all the rules, and that really appealed to me. So I kind of stuck with it. I thought maybe it would just be a phase, and I couldn't get rid of it. It was just sort of became my thing.
And your work ethic too, even though you're not linear, you pump them out. You have a lot of plays under your belt that you've written. And one of my favorite stories that you've told me, or you've told a group of people, was how you started writing a show, and it came down to the wire. So you spent, I think, a night just finishing up the show. I don't remember the whole story, but that was one of my favorite stories. Sometimes I think about it when I'm like, oh, I need to finish something. Catie did it. How can I do this? It pops into my head.
Oh, I'm so glad that I'm providing you with inspiration from my horrible procrastination. Yeah, you're very close. What basically happened was there was an opportunity to submit the first 10 pages to a competition. And so I thought, yeah, I'll send them the first 10 pages. I'm never going to, hear from them, whatever. And then they wrote back and they said, oh, we want to see the full script. And I went, crap, I don't have a full script. But I said, I kind of lied a little bit, and I was like, oh, I'm away from my home right now. Can I send it to you this weekend? They were like, yeah, sure. And then basically had 3 nights to write the rest of the play. But it made me do it, and it turned out really good. I didn't end up getting anything from them, but at least it pushed me to finish the play. So
yeah. That's the point. That's what procrastinators need to hear. You are a beacon of hope.
I think actually some of the best stuff has been written in really short bursts of time, not necessarily under pressure of needing to, but just kind of when the creativity is flowing, it's flowing, right? And you just sit down and you do it. don't have to think about it too much. I think that's when it gets, like, when it seems drawn out is when I know where something needs to go, but it's like I have to sit down and put in the time to actually write it out. Like, that seems really monotonous to me, instead of when it's just like I can't type fast enough to keep up with it.
What's your process, I guess, for writing? Or do you have an exercise that you do, or do you have a style of pre-writing, or I don't know, how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a different technique, I guess. I have playwright friends who like to write everything out on paper. Like, they have every scene kind of scheduled out. I have another friend who will write everything by hand, and then when she's done, then she'll go through and type everything up. And, like, I don't know about you, but my hand gets really sore after writing like 2 pages of notes. Like, I can't handwrite things anymore. Most of my plays have started from like a random line that someone has said, like, in passing or on a bus, and it's one of those things that's just like such a great line that you write it down and somehow it turns into a play, or like an image that gets stuck in your head, and then I can't stop thinking about it. It'll kind of be like stirring around in there, like, oh, I really need to write this down, I need to do something with this, but I almost try to not overthink it, because then I don't know, there's like something for me that's lost if I really try to think about like exactly where it's going to go. So I just try to keep like that little like burst of idea kind of in the front of my mind until I can sit down and then just start writing and see what happens. And, people always ask like, oh, well, do you know the whole story when you start writing? And I usually don't. It's kind of like halfway through, like it kind of starts to make sense. But again, I don't want to overthink it too much, because I don't want to have the whole thing planned out. I find that it's much more exciting if it just kind of writes itself, which I know sounds really weird, but yeah, I don't know. So it's kind of just like almost like free writing, when people just sit down and they just like let their mind go and they just kind of write.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
I don't know, it works for me.
Yeah.
But some people hate that because it's I feel like I'm a very organized person, like in my regular life. Mm-hmm. So that's like a completely different side where there's not the same, like, to-do list that I kind of work my way down. So maybe that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel almost like listening to you making assumptions. It's like you feel free. This is where you live. So of course you're going to want to free write it out, and you're going to want to live in it and let it evolve and breathe on its own, where if I guess other people, they need the structure to make it go and things like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's like a fear as well, like if you don't know where it's gonna go, that maybe it's not a worthwhile story to tell. I don't know, like my mom got really into screenwriting for a while, and she read this book, and there was like this tactics that like you use Post-it notes, and you like you write out every single scene, and then you like stick them all over the wall, and you can move them around if you need.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you do the same thing for like sketches.
I've seen it. I haven't done it. I bullet everything for sketches. Okay. So with that, no. I'd have just Post-its falling. It'd be like just a waterfall of Post-its and me on the floor. Why? Yeah, no.
But that's kind of what happened to my mom. There were all these Post-its everywhere, and she had all these ideas, and then it was like she couldn't write. It was like she was too afraid. She would like let the Post-its down or something. I don't know. It was just like she'd done all this work to make this idea, and then she'd kind of lost the oomph behind it, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't think that's true for everyone. I think some people really need to have things scheduled out. But I think sometimes you overwhelm yourself, right? Like you get an idea and then you plan it out, like, oh, it's going to be perfect, and then this scene will happen, and then that scene will happen, and then you kind of get into it, and either it's not as exciting or it's not working out how you want it to, and then you let it go because it's not what you thought it was going to be. So yeah, I don't know. I try to hold very low expectations of every play that I start, so that way I'll be pleasantly surprised if it turns out okay.
I think that's the perfect strategy. I think that is no expectations. Let's see how it goes. I think it really is. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I
don't know.
know seeing some stuff up on the stage, it's like, oh wow, you said that so much better than I thought that I wrote that. That line was not that way in my head. Great job. Great acting. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the perfect strategy. I think that's wonderful.
My favorite thing to do is when I see it up on stage sometimes, and like someone says something and I'm kind of like, did I write that? And like, I'll go back and look and it's like written down and I'm like, oh, I did write that. Aww. Way to go. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it's nice. But sometimes people say things and I was just like, that was incredible. Like, did I actually write that, or are they just like off script right now? And I'll go back and check and be like, oh, I did write that. Good for me.
Yes, it's like a gift for yourself later in the it's a hidden gift for yourself later. Yeah. And
although if I find I didn't write it, then I was like, oh, and then I like cross out what I wrote and write in with it.
That's what readings are for, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a process. It's, rewrite.
Something that I've been seeing with a lot of writers too is a lot of overthinking as far as the writing goes. And then you have months without work, literally. Like I've seen this over and over and over again. Or if there's work put out, it's not, like there's so many pieces here and there and you can tell that it's just them trying to work it out because they have some kind of expectation for how it's supposed to look or what it's supposed to be or like what people are looking for. So I think that's awesome. I think that is the best advice. I think we all need this advice.
I have no expectations of your writing and it will turn out okay.
In that Nick Cage movie where he's a playwright. No, he's a screenwriter. And
yes.
Yeah.
Adaptation?
I think so. It's the one with the pop.
Yeah, and it has Meryl Streep in it and like just orchids and it's fabulous. It's so good.
I watched it a long, long time ago, but all I remember is it's that one brother and he's trying to finish his script. And then he has an identical twin brother and it's his first time writing the script. And it's like all this ridiculous, it's mayhem just happening in the script. And it's exactly what the producers wanted. So his screenplay gets picked up and the professional screenplay writer is like,
yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think that's why I like that movie so much is I'm not a huge Nicolas Cage fan, but like, and whoever wrote those movies is escaping me right now, but they also did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is one of my favorite movies. So it's, it's like very like, it's all over the place. And so I like that anyway. But yeah, there was just something that I kind of latched onto with the character of like trying to write and, when you're like not trying really hard, it's just like flowing, whatever. And when you're like, okay, the perfect play, the perfect screenplay, it doesn't work out. And then it sends you into madness. So
talking about madness,
segue.
Do you think, or are there any skills that you've kind of grown from your writing and used for life?
So it's kind of how I got into my career, because I while I do playwriting, I've never made a like full-time living at it. So the way I got into doing development work and fundraising is I was writing plays in London, and someone said, "Oh, well, you write plays. I'm sure you could write a grant." I started grant writing. And
nice.
15 years later, and I think there's something to be said, like grant writing is crafting a story in many ways, right? It's telling a story about like a program or a project or a facility that needs something, and here's why they need it, and here's how you can help, and here's the outcome, and here's how we're going to get there. And so I think kind of having that like sort of storytelling narrative has definitely helped in the real world of sorts. I think also I told this to a faculty member a while back. She was really concerned about that we weren't going to make this grant deadline. And I told her, I was like, well, I'm a theater major and the show must go on. So it doesn't matter if it's 20 minutes until curtain is up. We are painting that set and we are, gluing the props together, and whatever needs to happen, it will happen. And so she seemed to like that. She was like, oh, okay. So there are certainly like skills I feel like that I've taken from my theater life.
I love it. I love, oh, you were in theater. I trust you now. Thank you for that story.
Right? Not that you're an expert in like grant management, but like, oh, you put on a play, we're good. That's true though. I do think that theater people, like, you just pull it together. I don't know how we did half the things that we did, and you do them in a way of like, it's an absolute disaster and everything's falling apart and nothing's right, and like the audience like has no idea and they're just like eating it up, and so it's like this. You're good at pulling it all together and then also presenting the illusion that it hasn't all just been pulled together. And there's something really magical to be said for that.
There totally is. And yeah, I think it's magic. I think those moments are magical. And I was talking to my sister about it recently too. Like, how did we do half the things that we did when we were in undergrad while we were putting up all of those productions and doing homework and doing whatever? And it's like, it's theater. You had to. Yeah. And exactly what you said, the show must go on. And I think it's perfect. Guys, hire a theater major because we keep up to date. We're good with deadlines. We're trustworthy. And we know how to act like we got everything together because we're actors as well.
Good public speaking skills. And usually there's a lot of like different hat wearing going on, not just in costumes, but also they'll just like hand you a wrench and be like, hey, why don't you figure out how to hang lights? And you're like, okay, I guess I'm like a master electrician now.
Or a jigsaw. Try not to saw your hand off, but make this mountain outline.
Yeah.
We can do it all.
And people are always like, oh, theater major, what are you going to do with that? And I'll be like, everything.
Are you working on any projects at the moment?
Yes and no. I am. Okay, so when we are in the time of COVID pandemic, right? When it first started and everyone was putting their readings online, I just kind of rolled my eyes and was like, oh, I don't want to watch a reading of something like online. That's not my thing. And then I started thinking like, well, maybe I should write something for the medium of Zoom. So I did start working with a former actress friend of mine who's in London. And the great thing about, Zoom is we can do this so we can act together and produce something and not have to be in the same place. So we've been working on that for a bit. We were trying to finish it in August, and then we decided that we were just really getting into it, and so we wanted to explore it a little further. So we are very slowly working on that, but every time we work on it, I get a little more excited about it. I think because I just shifted my focus from being like, oh, I'm going to write a play that then we'll all sit around on Zoom and read, which if that's what you're doing, I totally support that, and that's awesome. But if you're not doing that, I tried to think of it in like all right, well, here's where we are right now. Like, this is how performance is happening for some people, and maybe I should just utilize this time to try to write something for it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. No. I think there's a lot of creative stuff happening. I just saw on my alma mater's alumni email that they ended up doing cabaret, but they've said like cabaret in the time of COVID. And then they just had this picture, and I didn't like read into it very much, but everyone is like in their own little like plastic cell, like next to each other. So they're all like on stage next to each other, but they're all like in these little plastic things, and they do it. I guess they stream it, and then they also have a very small audience come and watch it too. So like I know people are getting super creative on how they're doing stuff right now. So that's cool. And I think people are also like appreciating the arts more now that they don't have them. It's like things you take for granted. You're like, oh, yeah, I really miss actually like seeing a play and not just like kind of watching some people try to act it out on Zoom. So
yeah, I think the one thing to look forward to, it'll end. It'll get back.
It will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if you pile up stuff, it's like, okay, then you hit the ground running when it comes back again. So that's, yeah. Which will hopefully be sooner rather than later. So I have one last question while we're in our perfect bubble of internet. And my last question is for you. What is one thing about you that we couldn't be able to tell just by looking at you?
So this is really hard because I'm trying to like think of something, but then I just keep thinking, no, that's really dumb. Like
nothing is, it's the internet.
But like, what's something like, I think like, oh, people look at me and they're like I would think of an answer to that. And then I'm like, no, because people would probably look at me and be like, yeah, she seems like the kind.
You would be surprised.
I don't know.
What would be, I'll tell you if like, oh yeah, like I totally know that about you. What's the first thing that pops in your head?
Like, I'm not blonde.
Oh, I didn't know that. Of all the time that I've known you, I think that I've seen you blonde. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I
oh, right.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm not thinking about the pictures.
But it's just it just gets blonder and blonder. And I don't know, I'm just really working my like Florida surfer look right now because why not? So that was the first thing. Yeah. That was the first thing. I was like, oh, I'm not really blonde. And then I was like, people are going to be like, well, that's a horrible fact. Like, okay, lots of people aren't really blonde.
Wait. Bring up your headshot. Because you use that for, that's your color.
Yeah, so it's my little, like, card.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed the shape of my glasses, too. So we now got round and blonde versus square and dark-haired. It's like two different people.
You could be a spy. You're totally a spy.
So that was going to be my second thing I was going to tell you that people don't usually know about me when they look at me.
Uh-huh. Well, I could tell after I looked at both of you that you
Those are my disguises.
Yeah.
No, honestly, one day we're going to pass each other on the street and I'm going to have brown hair or red hair again and you're going to like do a double take and be like, what?
Why is she saying hi? Why does she look friendly?
In like a really creepy way. Like, why?
Like she wants me to say.
No, I think that's the theater thing of me too. Like I like to dress up. You know, you like to like change your costume, your look. Like, so that's kind of a boring fact, but I'm glad that it surprised you.
It was not boring. It was not boring at all. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself because I've seen the picture before, so I should have.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like.
Yeah, but you can't tell just by looking at you. Your Zoom self.
That's true. Mm-hmm. And my hairstylist says I have the perfect base. I have a really nice base, whatever that means.
Well, Catie, thank you so much for joining us for Talk About It Tuesday. This is Improv, and I'm Angelica. And while you're here, please make sure to subscribe for more weeks just like this, where you get to meet someone fantastic and awesome, and is talented, and is in theater. The best thing you could be in. The most talented, the most diverse. Anything could happen, and your roots, don't define you here. While you're here, also, please take some time below to look at some of the links that we have of things going on in the area and ways that you can help out. If you have anything that you want to add onto there or have anything you need help with, make sure to message us at info@thisisimprov.com so we can add it to the list. Thank you very much, you guys, and have a great day, night, everything. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra.
And I'm Angelica.
And this is
Legends of Yesterday,
where we talk about histories, mysteries, and ghost stories of South Florida.
And the only reason trapped there, so it's like a purgatory kind of hell.
What is around us, then it's really made Davie such a special place.